Fujitsu supplied the software that triggered the British Post Office scandal, with billing errors, ruined livelihoods, historical miscarriages of justice. And Postmaster Hollinrake now spoke about the consequences. This Japanese company, Fujitsu, was due to contribute hundreds of millions of pounds to the compensation. That's what the British government expects over the Post scandal. And that's what Postmaster General Kevin Hollinrake says. Asked by BBC Radio whether he thought Fujitsu could face a bill of hundreds of millions of pounds to compensate victims, Hollinrake said, "Yes, I think so." The scandal will cost the taxpayer £1 billion, maybe more, said Hollinrake, adding that he absolutely believes the Tokyo-listed company should cover a significant portion of the compensation costs. The IT group's European boss, Paul Patterson, told a parliamentary panel last week that the company had a moral obligation to compensate hundreds of post office managers who were wrongly convicted of fraud, but also theft and false accounting between 1999 and 2015. Fujitsu now declined further comment when asked, for example, by the Reuters news agency about Hollinrake's assessment. The company said on Thursday it would work with the government on appropriate measures, including compensation. A recent multi-part series on the scandal, called Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, broadcast by ITV, has sparked public anger over the injustices caused by Fujitsu's faulty Horizon software. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak then described the scandal as one of the country's biggest miscarriages of justice and has put forward plans for the mass rehabilitation of those convicted. The investigation into the scandal at the state-owned company by a specially founded investigative commission is currently continuing. The Horizon software had led to billing errors in postal branches, which were then blamed on branch managers and interpreted as malicious fraud. Unjustly, many of them had to pay supposedly outstanding money out of their own pockets and were taken to court and sometimes to prison. As a result of false suspicions, their reputation was destroyed. They had a criminal record, and in particularly tragic cases, it was even suicide. If you're thinking about taking your own life, please talk to other people about it. There is help everywhere. You can find a lot of contacts by phone, chat, email. Please. But I had to say this. However, not least the Post Office itself and the British judiciary gave a bad impression. There were early indications that the software was malfunctioning, but they did not lead to any consequences for a long time. In a ruling, the judge criticized the Postal Service for refusing to acknowledge that software could also be defective. Because the Postal Service has its own investigative powers beyond the police, it was able to act particularly brutally and try to cover up its own mistakes. Branch managers who contacted a post office hotline with questions about incorrect billing were lied to. They were told they were the only ones with such problems. In fact, there were hundreds of cases. It is certain that the scandal will have consequences for Fujitsu, but so far no one has been prosecuted for it. Fujitsu is still the IT partner of the British government, commissioned with numerous projects worth billions in total. The British Post Office is still using the Horizon system and, according to the British newspaper Guardian, has just asked for a government financial injection to update and continue to operate the software. The British Post Office scandal, also known as the Horizon scandal for good reasons, was a serious miscarriage of justice that occurred between 1999 and 2015. And during this time, over 900 sub-postmasters and postmistresses were wrongly prosecuted for theft, fraud, and false accounting based on evidence from this faulty accounting software system called Horizon. Horizon was introduced by the Post Office in 1999 to automate the accounting and financial management of its branch network. However, the software was riddled with errors and bugs, which caused it to generate false shortfalls in the accounts of many sub-postmasters. And these shortfalls were often blamed on the sub-postmasters themselves, leading to wrongful prosecutions and convictions. Many of the sub-postmasters who were prosecuted were forced to defend themselves against the charges, which often led to financial ruin, personal stigma, and even imprisonment. And it is still unbelievable that this happened. In 2016, a group of sub-postmasters brought a legal case against the post office, alleging that Horizon had been responsible for their wrongful convictions. In 2020, the High Court ruled in favor of the sub-postmasters, finding that Horizon had contained a number of bugs, errors, and defects, and that the post office had failed to properly investigate and address these issues. Following the High Court ruling, the post office pledged to overturn the convictions of all sub-postmasters who had been prosecuted based on Horizon evidence. By January 2024, nearly 100 convictions had been overturned, and the government announced plans for a blanket exoneration of all wrongly convicted sub-postmasters. The British Post Office scandal is a stark reminder of the importance of due process and the need to ensure that criminal prosecutions are based on reliable evidence, or are supposed to be. It's also a tragedy for the many sub-postmasters and their families who were wrongly accused and suffered the consequences of the post office's negligence. The scandal has had a profound impact on the post office, with its reputation severely damaged and its finances hit by the costs of compensation payments. The post office is currently in the process of reviewing its culture and practices with the aim of preventing such a scandal from happening again. That's at least what we should all hope for. And as I said, in 2024, the government announced a compensation scheme for the victims of the scandal. The scheme is expected to pay out hundreds of millions of pounds to over 5,500 sub-postmasters. However, many victims have expressed dissatisfaction with the scheme, arguing that it does not adequately compensate them for the losses that they have suffered. The British Post Office scandal is a reminder, as I said, of the importance of due process and the need for organizations to be accountable for their actions. It is also a reminder of the devastating impact that miscarriages of justice can have on individuals and their families. And the British Post Office scandal is a scandal for several reasons, but I named them in the video already, so I will not repeat them right now. But it is something that we definitely have to have our eyes on. And if you want to know more, the next video is right in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.